Hey guys, did you miss me? Because I know it's been a while and I've been mostly away because I've been building my new computer, which is all we're going to be talking about in this video. Part 1, there is a part 2 as well because of just how much content there is to talk and discuss about. So let's get right into it. And I want to first off start up with talking about the EKWB fittings that I ordered. Basically not just the fittings but everything that I ordered from EK for this particular build, and then we'll go into what we are building into and with what. This part of the video is sponsored by Sujata Computers. They are based in Pune and I was able to source all parts for my build from them in a very timely fashion, and they also deliver pan India. For more details, check out the details in the description. So talking about the EKWB fittings, there are a lot of these newer vector fittings that they have and they look really good. Unfortunately, when I was placing my order, neither the ZMT tubes nor the rotary angle fittings were available. They were not in stock, so I had to go with the regular CSQ design that EK previously had, the classic fittings, what they call it now. So with that in place, everything was all set up. Again, like I said, the ZMT tubing was not available, so I just went with their Duraclear tubing. Apart from the fittings, I also ordered the EK leak tester, which kind of delayed my order by 3-4 days because again, that was not in stock. But I really hoped to get that so it can not only be useful for me in this particular build, but all my future builds that I do for myself and my clients. Now for the CPU, I opted to go with the EK Velocity nickel and copper block. Now the reason I went with a solid block is that the whole planning of this build is to keep the RGB as low as possible throughout the build. So I have accents on the reservoir, the GPU, as you'll see in a bit, as well as the motherboard itself. So I don't need anything fancy or flashy. And I'm not really a big fan of plexi blocks for GPUs and CPUs. So this was the default and best choice for me. As always, you can buy the additional DRGB or RGB fittings from EK directly if you want to pimp out your own block. So that's always a choice. Always a route if you want to go down that road. Now for the GPU, I have the EK Quantum Vector full cover plate for my 5700 XT, which I reviewed here. You can check it out. All the benchmarks that I did for my encoding processes that I need on a daily basis. Now this comes with a DRGB front. The Radeon logo is all DRGB as well as the side plate. Now there's a very small difference between DRGB and RGB. DRGB is the addressable variant of it, which works with 5 volts and has only 3 pins. The standard RGB is not addressable and works with 12 volts. So you don't want to go around plugging this into that because it can damage not only the lights but also the motherboard or the controller you're using it with. So just be careful about that one. Now the enclosure we have chosen allows us to have not only just dual but triple 360mm radiators, and that is great. However, in this build I'm just using two 360mm radiators and that's good enough for all the parts that I have going in there right now. Things may change in the future and I can always add and remove. First off, we have the 360mm SE radiator from EK, and the second one is the PE. Now in this particular build, the PE will be going at the bottom and the SE on the top. To go on top of these radiators, we have EK Vada 2200 RPM fans, and I really like EK's Vada fans for one reason and one reason only: the way they look with RGB components and how quiet they are. They're very quiet, and I have been using these fans on my older Shadow Knight build, and I definitely wanted to use them on this particular build as well, without a doubt. And 2200 RPM is a good spot. They also have them in 1850, 2400 and upwards, all the way up to 3000 RPM. So if you have a really crazy build and you don't want to optimize it for silence but you want to optimize it for cooling, well, they have a 3000 RPM variant. Now a big issue with these fans is that their cables are very short. So keep that in mind because you may need a extension cable or you may have to extend the cables yourself, which is what I opted to do. I just extended the cables myself directly. And finally, we have a 200mm reservoir for holding the liquid with a D5 pump at the bottom for pumping the fluid in this. With all of this out of the way, let's talk about the enclosure that we are using for this build, and that is the O11 Dynamic XLX. So it's the O11 Dynamic XL, and then you have the X and the silver and then the white, and the X is the black version, which is the ROG version. Now I really don't know what's ROG about this, and it's ROG certified. It even comes with a badge. Beats me. But what I really admire and love about this case, just as I was opening it, is how nice it is just to the touch. The metal feels great because of the finishing that's done on the exteriors. The glass used on this is also pretty thick, so it dampens quite a bit of noise, and it looks really neat if you have a full-on RGB built in there. It's tinted, but not tinted to an extreme level where not a lot of light comes out, but it's not completely clear either where all the light comes out. So tweak your lighting accordingly based on what you're setting up inside. On the rear side, you have a 120mm fan slot for exhaust. You also have 8 full PCI slots in there for your E80X and whatever the new one, DE80X or whatever it's called, the Maximus ports, which are huge. So you have support for that as well. You have 2 hot swap bays, and each one of those can hold 2 drives. The only quirk with these hot swap bays is that you cannot remove the SATA cables, which I was hoping to do so I can move my entire RAID array into this system and not have the server at all. Unfortunately, it's all wired into a single piece and it's screwed in, so you can remove it, but then I just thought that's too much of a hassle and did not do that. For radiator support, you have, as I mentioned earlier, a 360 on the top, a 360 on the bottom, and a 360 on the side of where your motherboard sits. There's no 360 on the front because it's a big piece of beautiful glass. Removing the back cover exposes all the cables for your front I/O, as well as a cable hiding shield. That's what I'm going to call it. It's basically a shield that covers all the mess the PSU cables are going to make in the back, so it still looks neat. But it also serves a second purpose of being able to mount 4 SSDs onto it. So you can do that, but remember, when you do that, the cable management is going to be horrendous, and every time you need to remove it for doing whatever in your computer, you may have to disconnect all the drives. But since you're opening it, you may do that anyways. Let's take a quick look at the front I/O. You have the power and reset buttons, and the power button comes integrated with the HDD activity light as well, and also has a LED ring around it which carries over the same color as you set up for the rest of the system using Lian Li's own built-in chips. Now below that you have your 3.5mm jacks for your audio output and input, as well as 2 USB 3 ports, and below that you have an M and C button. The M is for controlling the mode and C for the color of the RGB lighting, which is available on the front. On the bottom feed in the front, you also have 2 additional USB 3 ports, which is in my opinion a great addition to the XL, and having 4 USB 3 ports on the front is absolutely epic. Now yes, I did leave out the USB-C port that is also in the front, and that is a USB 3.1 Gen 1 USB-C port and not a Gen 2, so it's limited to 5 gigabits per second. Now as I install the radiators into this, let me just quickly talk about how easy it is to build into this, because all the sides can come off except for the back, which kind of makes sense. So you have access from the front of the case as well, which makes mounting the top and side radiators very easy, and it also makes filling the water cooling loop a lot easier as well, as you'll see later. And the bottom radiator, putting that into the case is also very easy, considering that the bottom tray entirely comes out and you can fit the radiator outside and push it back in. Now of course you won't be able to do that once you have the full loop built out. However, if you're just installing fans in there, well, the whole process becomes very easy. Now on the side of the case you have these brackets which you can also remove, mount SSDs onto it and put them on this bottom slide in case you want to use the side radiator that is available for you for a 360mm radiator. Moving on to the other components that are going in there, we have the Intel 9940X CPU, and going along with that we have a 1TB Western Digital SN750 NVMe drive, as well as a Intel 660p 1TB NVMe drive. The WD one will house my macOS and the Intel one will house Windows, because of the obvious speed difference between the two and because macOS is my main operating system. Now all of these are going to be going on the Asus X299 Deluxe 2 motherboard. The reason I chose this one was, well, it was the only available one for X299 systems where I am. So I had no other choice coming from Asus because they were not stocking any other motherboards for whatever reason. So that being the case, I just went with that as the default option for me, and it overclocks great, has a good VRM. It also comes with a VRM fan bracket. You can put a 40mm fan on. So overall, it's a great motherboard. It also has the two Thunderbolt 3 Titan Ridge ports built in directly, so it isn't going to swallow a PCI slot for me on the motherboard, but it does remove a PCI slot from the motherboard completely. So in case you're planning to have big beefy GPUs which cover up 2.5 to 3 slots on the motherboard, that's feasible now. So that's a good thing. Now to pair with this motherboard, we have RGB RAM. Nah, that doesn't make sense. So instead of RGB RAM, we have two kits of Vengeance LPX DDR4 RAM, and these are epic. That looks pretty cool, and these low profile RAMs are some of my favorite. I really regret having bought the G-Skill whatever it is called for my previous build. These look absolutely fantastic, and it all pairs well with the color scheme I have going on. On the rear side of this motherboard, you also have two USB 2 ports, a bunch of USB 3 ports, the aforementioned two USB-C ports, to display port in so that you can route the display from your GPU over the Thunderbolt 3 ports directly, 1 gigabit Intel LAN, 5 gigabit Aquantia LAN, and wireless and Bluetooth antenna slots in there. However, I'm not using either of these for my particular build. I have a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card that I'll be using instead. There's not really much to say in this video anymore apart from actually building the computer now. Now, I have not and I will not be recording any B-roll of me building the computer, because if you want to learn how to build a computer, go watch someone else's videos, preferably Linus's or Bitwit or Paul or J2Sense. Don't watch my videos, please. If I start giving you tips on how to build computers. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, you know what to do. And if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any thoughts, let me know down in the comments. If you liked a particular decision of mine, let me know. If you disagree with a particular path choice of mine, let me know that as well. I'll learn something new. I'll see you guys down there. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.